ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Earth, inhabitants of the solar system, and denizens of the Milky Way. I am Sparkfinger, and in this video we are going to take a look at the best writing styles in AI Dungeon and NovelAI. I've separated them all in 5 different categories, and we're going to take a look through each and every one of them and explain how and when we can use them. First of all, a little introduction. AI Dungeon and NovelAI are interactive role-playing text games powered by an AI engine. They can also be used as writing assistant tools because they are capable of generating text or adventures in almost any style that exists on Earth. Author's Notes is one of their features in these games. A very important one. It helps you define in which style you want to generate your adventures. They're not as predictable as they might seem at first, but after some time of playing, you start to see the AI's logic and how it is both similar and different to human logic. And that fact just might blow your mind. Let's take a look at the first category of the writing style. They are in no particular order because they all have their own specifics and they're usable in different situations, so it would be incorrect to say that one of these categories is absolutely better than the rest. At first we have the category that I myself use the most when I play, just have fun with AI Dungeon and NovelAI. It's descriptive, detailed, or let's say verbose category. You can add adjectives like overly, very, or extra, and you can try adding something like exaggerated or perhaps eloquent, complex, detailed, detalization. Honestly, you can put a lot of different things in the author's notes. More importantly, very important note, you don't just have to put in writing style. Because I strongly suggest you experiment with all the different things, because basically author's notes is simply a part of the context. Context that the AI knows that it generates the text based off. You can put in writing style, and then it will be outputting text that is more similar to something that someone would write. But if you, let's say, don't put in writing style, you can it will be generating something more blunt, straightforward, as if someone was telling you something. But of course, we are going to keep the writing style in here for now. We are now back into one of our adventures that we looked at before in one of our previous videos. Let's take a look at this. This part I was just playing for fun, and I used not just this, I actually had a lot of different things. I had overly descriptive, very detailed, over-exaggerated and such. And now I reduced it to simply overly descriptive because it's one of my favorite. You can also use words like visual description or auditory description, because that really helps you, immerse yourself. Visual or auditory description. And this category of writing styles is absolutely perfect for generating detailed descriptions of things. For example, right here I decided to experiment a little bit and add a description for one of the characters that I encountered in the game or in NovelAI. Wikipedia entry on Zilliam. Zilliam, pronounced Zilliam or Zilliam, is a male human bartender and innkeeper, has short brown hair, green eyes, wears a black shirt and pants. His hobbies include, that's what I put in, chess and drinking beer. His favorite, that's what I put in, drink is stout ale. He has been working at the Black Rose Tavern for many years, since before the establishment was even built. And then it starts to generate even more descriptions, because it was destined to be overly descriptive. Tavern is located there and there in the city, and the city street is located in the city of Zephyrus. Zephyrus, actually there is no defined pronunciation of this word according to in-game lore, but that's not as important. And the tavern is located on the corner. So yeah, this is the style that I use primarily. Let's take a look at it in AI Dungeon. Here we go, this is one of my adventures that I played recently. I used the similar writing style, overly descriptive, very exaggerated. Visual descriptions. Actually, I didn't use visual descriptions for this one, I just used a lot of descriptive styles. So when I look at the man, it generates a lot of long description. You look at the man, at the maid, or at the cleaning man in the hotel, in the apartment. His face is covered by a thick black beard with a mustache underneath his nose, his lips are thin and his eyes are a bright blue. His black hair is cut short, like the hair of a soldier. His face is wrinkled from spending a great deal of time outside of the elements. He is of a medium height, shorter than you are, but taller than Alice. Who's Alice, eh? Alice is one of the recurring characters in all AI Dungeon training material. He has wide shoulders and narrow towards his waist, a bit confusing, and he has muscular arms. He's wearing a blue-colored shirt and a pair of blue pants. His hands are calloused and ragged with dirty fingernails. His arms are covered in old tattoos that have faded with age. So there we go, quite descriptive. Let's take a look at another example. Yes, we are in our village and we are just taking a look through the village in this separate scenario in one of the free released worlds, and there we have a magic display. You look at the display. The entire display is covered in a multitude of different colors: vibrant blues, fiery oranges, lush greens and earthy browns, all intermixed to create the image of a magic portal opening up. You watch as the image shifts and it changes with each passing second. The colors begin to fade slowly until you can't distinguish the portal from reality anymore. And what do we have here? Yeah, this is what I put in. I didn't put in a writing style because that way it's a bit more blunt, a bit more straightforward. It's not trying to emulate, let's say, text. It's not trying to emulate it as if someone is writing this. It's just putting out very direct words. Overly descriptive, very detailed, extra verbose, exaggerated. So yeah, this is the category number 1. I'll put on the screen all sorts of different variations that I suggest you could use. Okay, now let's move on to the second category. The second category is genres. You can use sci-fi, fantasy, steampunk, pop science, gothic, fairy tale, lovecraftian, etc. Your preferred genre. You can add exploration, epic, adventure, quest, role-playing, heroic, villainous, stuff like that, your own personal flair. Here I set up a couple different styles. First we have NovelAI with a prompt starter settings, not completely random, but not, let's say, these settings aren't quite consistent. They are not as useful for the world with a lot of lore built in already. There we go. I decided to experiment. I chose theme, military, sci-fi, and here I decided to put a couple different things. A very important thing. Another curious thing you could add is for AI to try and emulate one of the popular authors that it knows something about. Arthur Clarke is a sci-fi author from the 20th century. Writing style, sci-fi, science fiction, genre science fiction, and this is what we managed to generate. This day was promising to be a good one. Yes, this is about cosmonauts. The temperature at noon would reach 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It seemed like an ideal time to go out into space with friends who were about ready themselves to make their first flights as cosmonauts aboard Sputnik 2 or perhaps even Vostok 1, which Yuri Gagarin himself piloted earlier during his historic flight around Earth from Moscow's Baikonur Cosmodrome. Yeah, very long, a curiously long sentence. Okay, let's take a look at a similar thing in AI Dungeon. Here we also created a new custom prompt. This is a fairy tale with epic fantasy elements. You are the main hero of the story, the protagonist, and we put this in the writing style: genre, fairy tale, epic fantasy, or adventures. And this is what we managed to come up with. You are a young man. This is what we started with, and then you are a young man who has been given a magical sword by his father and must go on an adventure to save your mother from the evil wizard that stole her away. The story takes place in a world where magic exists but is not as common as it once was. It talks about the story because we put in stuff about the story itself right here in the memory. So yeah, there you go. I'll put it on the screen as well and probably also in the description, so you can just copy-paste your preferred styles that I am suggesting. And also feel free to experiment yourself. It's a lot of fun. As I mentioned before, you're free not to just put in different writing styles in here, but this is basically a part of the context that AI remembers. So if you really want, you can use it as another sort of remember tab. I'm not exactly sure if it reacts differently, but I know for a fact that this particular tab is still a part of the context, just like the story itself and the remember tab and world info that has been triggered recently. Okay, let's move on to the next category. Now we have a category of writing styles that are a bit less predictable. I call them author's mood. Usually I combine them with different writing styles. Author's moods like energetic, freneric, energized, caffeinated, powerful, or fast-paced. Fast can work extremely well if you're, let's say, trying to move your story in a fast manner, in a fast-paced manner. You have to give it an example though, so it would start repeating after you. So let's say you have a story that moves really quickly. One action, let's say, could mean a month of your time. What else do we have? Or perhaps we can have slow-paced, slow, lazy, and in that case characters might become lazy writing style, melancholic, apathetic, etc. So yeah, I recommend combining this category of author's moods with different other writing styles with a genre, or let's say descriptive, non-descriptive. I especially recommend fast, but if you're using the fast mood of the writing style, then you really have to give it an example before it starts being fast. and let's say each action would take a lot of time. Here we have a writing style. As I said before, they are less evident, they don't show themselves as much as clearly. I put in slow, melancholic, disillusioned, depressed, very slow, focus details, that was here before. You think about your response, but nothing really comes to mind, so you just nod. So yeah, our character is a bit melancholic already. With all the things in life, there are two sides in every coin. So yeah, my character basically walked up in a random church, and then he got offered a job as a janitor. You're going to... Well, I decided he's going to be the janitor. You're going to be the janitor. You know how to clean everything, and you look strong. It should help us out quite a bit. There isn't much money, but if you accept the job, then you'll have enough food and clothing. That sounds good, you stutter. You feel better now. But at least you know you won't starve while you work. Do I need to do anything special? Just keep the place tidy. Everything needs to be cleaned, but no one will give you any trouble. We'll feed you and clothe you. Okay, let's move on to AI Dungeon. AI Dungeon, once again, is... As I mentioned before, they're less evident. I put in fast-paced, fast, freneric, very fast, energetic, caffeinated, adrenaline. Also, I think I will link the article that inspired me to make this particular video. First, I was going to just read through this article and say my opinions on different styles, but yeah, I'll link it in the description. It's on the site called Just Paste It, and it was written by a certain member of the community a while ago, very long time ago. Now they are less relevant when NovelAI came out, but believe me, all these writing styles are quite applicable to one another. They are not quite predictable in every way possible. Okay, let's read this example. You go to your garage. Elizabeth, the daughter, looks down, sighing. I wanted to play with you, she says in a disappointed tone. Let's work out in the garage, you say, trying to be upbeat. Oh yeah, upbeat? I can see a connection between the writing style and what's happening here in the story. But as I said, they're less evident compared to other styles, so you may want to combine them. Elizabeth smiles. Yes, she says, smiling. You walk into the garage where you and Talia keep your gym equipment. Talia, the wife. You look around the garage. You walk into the garage. You can see your weight bench against the wall. Have a few barbells, several sets of dumbbells, different weights. You can see your rowing machine. You do a cardio, several bikes, and a couple of elliptical trainers. So yeah, this garage seems to be overfilled. For some curious reason, I think it still generates overly descriptive writing style. You start working out. Here's the funny part. You grab two barbells, putting them next to each other. You step inside the barbells and begin to lift. You do squats, building up your leg muscles as you push the barbell back up. It's a curious way to lift. And yeah, Judge Bod is judging me for training with two large barbells. This is a dumb way to train. You lose 2 points. Okay, this is kind of funny. As I said before, I recommend combining this mood of the writer with some other writing style, with genre, with what you want to see, let's say writing descriptive and such, or perhaps with the situation. And we're going to talk about this situation next. Okay, let's move on to the next category. Okay, the next category for writing style is the situation you want to see. Originally, this was supposed to be a separate category for romantic or erotic or, let's say, P-graphic, lewd, pornographic, lewd, seduction, sensual, smut, because a lot of people, you know, use this particular category when they want to play out these particular erotic scenarios. They use this category and they put in, let's say, romantic or erotic or, let's say, hardcore, but you don't just have to use it for, not say for work scenarios, you can use it to emulate your own preferred different situations. For example, situation, emotional, consolation. Let's just take a look at this. A small example, it's not completely coherent, but let's take a look at this. You look up at Vanessa. Tears well up in your eyes and you wipe them away. Thank goodness, you whisper. Oh, ma'am, thank you so very much. Oh, thank you so much. You perform some kind of strange dance as you thank Vanessa. What is wrong with you? All you want to see you do is wash the dishes or vacuum the carpet. Stop acting like a maniac. I'm sorry. You're a little embarrassed, ashamed by the scene you put in front of her. Okay, and here's another small example. You tell a joke to Elizabeth. Why did the chicken cross the road? Elizabeth looks at you intrigued. Why? To get to the other side, you reply, bursting out laughing. That's not funny. And Judge Bud says, you laughed with Elizabeth. You gain 1 point. Here we put in friendly scenario, family-oriented situational comedy. Let's say what happens when we press enter again. Yes, it is, you say, laughing even harder. Elizabeth rolls her eyes, but a smile creeps onto her face as she starts laughing. No, it's not, she says, smiling. Oh yeah, definitely a very cute scenario. Telling nonsense jokes to each other and laughing at them as if the world isn't going to end soon. Okay, let's move on to the next category. This category was supposed to be about all sorts of different scenarios and situations. Originally it was supposed to be 18 plus stuff, although not safe for work stuff, but I realized that you can use these particular descriptors not just for erotic scenarios, but all sorts of funny stuff. And I wanted to say erotic isn't as bad of a word as people think. Erotic just means something describing things that are related to eros, a form of love, just love, you say. Okay, let's move on to the next category. The next category is somewhat smaller. It's the one I like to have fun with occasionally, because it shows the workings of AI itself. It's silly nonsense or humor, joke, anecdote, larky. You know, it's like AI, when AI makes a joke, it's like it tries to assemble a broken puzzle from human humor, and sometimes it might work, it might actually generate a funny joke. Here I put in a couple actual joke situations. You tell one essay joke. Which sandwich doesn't travel best, you ask? Which one? The pickle, you say with a laugh. She appears to enjoy your wit and laughter, although it is just nonsense, but it is kind of funny. Very funny. I'm so glad I invited you over to my church today. Okay, let's go to AI Dungeon. Oh yeah, maybe there we go. You tell Elizabeth an elaborate anecdote. Once I was reading a fantasy novel, you say. I like fantasy novels, Elizabeth interjects. I came across a word I didn't know. Oh no, Elizabeth says, laughing. Yes, the word was larky. It's not a real word. You stare at Elizabeth, who looks back at you. Larky, she says, testing the word. But yeah, it is actually a real word, but it is kind of old. Larky, objective, larkier or luckiest, informal, frolicsome or mischievous. There we go, it is an actual Scrabble word. Larky, she says. Larky, you say, laughing. You start laughing as Elizabeth starts laughing. That's not a real word, she says. Okay, let's see if it manages to actually dig up the meaning of this word in somewhere deep in GPT-3. I think it's supposed to mean cheerful, and it is correct. Frolicsome, fanciful, stuff like that. You say, laughing. No, it's not a real word, she laughs. The two of you continue laughing. Elizabeth rolls into her bags and stares into the ceiling, still laughing. Okay, now next category, the final one for the day. The next category is what I like to call unusual. Things that are rarely used, but they can lead to some very, very interesting results. They, as I mentioned before, they are categorized by the situation for when you might consider using them. That's the category. For different styles of gameplay. Unusual like sesquipedalian, something like early romantic period, inventive, vivid, or let's say caveman for grog-style adventures. You have to give it an example though. Primitive, allegoric, metaphorical, plot twist, grotesque, bizarre. Also you could try philosophical, psychological, theological, historical, maybe even mathematical or geometrical, for unusual but quite specific thematic results. Here is a small example of what we can come up with. Here I bunched up also different unique styles: sesquipedalian, bizarre, overly descriptive, philosophical, allegoric, metaphorical. And there we go. As the story continues, my character starts to clean up the church. You groan as you scrub a dirty floor again. Here's my input. As soon as you clean the church, your mind wanders and you start to think about stuff. Why are there animals wandering around the jungle? Where did the sirens come from? What's an allegory? Kinda funny. How could functioning toilets be a metaphor for spirituality and enlightenment? This is extremely hilarious. I'm laughing out loud so much. You stop. Yeah, here my game is playing for me again. Cleaning is hard work. It makes you tired and sore, but it can cause all sorts of injuries. Better to save the thinking until later. Instead, you go back to cleaning. Eventually, you're done and ready for bed. Then it happens. What happens? I don't know. Maybe we'll see in the future. And here is a similar thing, in fact identical writing styles, sesquipedalian, bizarre, overly descriptive and such. In AI Dungeon, here's my input. Elizabeth, do you think there's something after death, you ask? I don't know, she replies. If there is, what do you think it'll be like? Elizabeth thinks for a while. I think it'll be nice, Elizabeth says. AI Dungeon loves to talk about the things that happen after death. It'll be nice, you say, surprised? Yes, she says. Everyone we know is up there. Your sister, my grandparents will be together and there won't be any pain anymore. You think there won't be any pain, you say? Elizabeth nods solemnly. We won't suffer anymore. We can just be. That's a nice thought, Elizabeth. Elizabeth sits up and looks at you. Do you think there's something after death, she asks. I don't know, you admit. I used to not want to die, but now I think it's fine. We live, we enjoy life, and then we die. And then we'll be back with everyone. So yeah, quite a touching moment, and just because we put in philosophical, allegoric, metaphorical, all that stuff, and we asked a character something. And this is a quite developed character. I keep adding all sorts of unique world info entries for the memory and for the let's say character of different persons in my story. So yeah, this has been 5 different categories. If you want to take a brief gloss over them again, or just copy paste them for yourself, I will put them in the description. I will also put a link to a very interesting article that inspired me to make this video. So yeah, this has been it for today. 5 different categories of the writing style. Please make sure to tell me in the comments what writing style do you yourself prefer to use the most, and which one would you like to try using. What did my video inspire you to try? Because I know it inspired me to try all sorts of different stuff as I was making it. Well, there we go. Oh yeah, by the way guys, we reached 1000 subscribers, and big massive thank you to each and every one. I already applied for monetization, but clearly it's going to take quite some time. I have to jump through all sorts of hurdles. Oh yeah, big massive thank you to each and every one. Yes, that means we are almost already in the next stage of life for this channel. And yeah, please, I don't know, I'm just very thankful to you all. I'm thankful to you all for watching. I can't believe I actually have an audience. And I really want to expand my audience and make all sorts of different stuff, so I hope you all will be quite accepting of that. Well, anyway, until next time, Sparkfinger out, bye for now. I wish you all the best things in life. Yeah, bye for now. See you sometime soon.